This video will show you how to submit a one-year window application via ISCC's Permanent Residence Portal. It is intended for permanent residents who arrived in Canada as sponsored or resettled refugees and are looking to be reunited with their eligible family members that were part of their application but could not travel to Canada with them. As of July 16, 2024, one-year window applications can be submitted via the Permanent Residence Portal. A grace period is in effect until September 15, 2024, up until which one-year window applications can still be submitted via email. From September 16, 2024 onwards, all one-year window applications must be submitted to ISCC via the Permanent Residence Portal. As a reminder, to qualify for the one-year window of opportunity provision, eligible family members must have been included on the refugee sponsorship application of the original principal applicant that is now in Canada, or they must have been declared before the original principal applicant departed for Canada. If the family member is declared on arrival in Canada, they are not eligible for the one-year window of opportunity provision. It is the permanent resident in Canada, that is, the original principal applicant, that is responsible for submitting the one-year window application, and they must do so within 1 year of arrival in Canada. The permanent resident in Canada should work with their sponsors and get the assistance of their sponsors with submitting the one-year window application. Please refer to the IMM 5578 guide for further information on the eligibility and application requirements for the one-year window of opportunity provision. In the context of a one-year window application, the principal applicant is the family member abroad that is arriving under the one-year window. If you are trying to bring your spouse and children, your spouse is considered to be the principal applicant and your children are accompanying dependents. If you are trying to bring your child by themselves, your child is considered to be the principal applicant. If you are trying to bring 2 or more children without your spouse, each child is considered to be a principal applicant in their own right. You must submit a separate one-year window application via the Permanent Residence Portal for each child. The first step is for the permanent resident in Canada to open an account in the Permanent Residence Portal if they don't have an account already. To do so, they would click on the Create an Account button. This will open up a new window. The permanent resident in Canada will need to use a personal email address that they have regular access to when creating their account in the portal. Please note that once a user account has been created in the portal, the email address associated with the account cannot be changed. Next, they will need to create a password that has a unique combination of letters, numbers, and characters. If the password does not meet the listed parameters, the requirement will not have a green check mark next to it. Once a password has been created, click on the checkbox to indicate that they have read and accepted the terms of use and privacy policy. Then, simply click on the Create Account button. Once you click the Create Account button, an email with a unique verification code will be sent to the email address that was used to create the account. This code must be entered into this field to complete the user account registration. Once you have entered the verification code, click on the Complete Registration button. If the code was entered correctly, a green confirmation box will appear at the top of this page. The user account creation is now complete, and the email address and password can be used to sign into the permanent residence portal. Once you've logged into the permanent residence portal, you will need to create the one-year window application. If this is your first application in the portal, you will be taken to this screen and will be prompted to create an application. If you have already used the portal for a previous application, you will be taken to the My Applications dashboard. To create the one-year window application, click on the Create New Application button. To create the one-year window application, select the permanent residence, including refugee resettlement option from the drop-down box. Then, select Refugee, followed by one-year window of opportunity. You will then need to enter a title for the one-year window application. As a best practice, it is recommended to use the PA's last name, their first name, and date of birth so you can easily identify the one-year window application in the application dashboard. Remember, in the context of a one-year window application, the principal applicant is the family member abroad that is arriving under the one-year window. So you would use their personal information when creating the title. The title cannot be changed after you create the application. When you're ready, click the Continue button. You'll be taken to a new page called Your Profile. A green box will appear at the top of the page, informing you that you have successfully created the one-year window application. The next step is to create a profile for the principal applicant and any other family members that you are applying to bring via the one-year window. The information entered on this page will be used to automatically fill the digital versions of the generic application form for Canada and Schedule A. Please remember to complete this section from the perspective of the family members you are applying to bring via the one-year window. Start off by selecting the preferred language of correspondence for the principal applicant, and then enter in the personal information of the principal applicant, including their family name, their given name, their date of birth, as well as their mailing and residential address. If you are applying to bring your spouse and children under the one-year window, click the Add Dependent button to enter information for the children. After clicking the Add Dependent button, enter in the information for the children that you are applying to bring under the one-year window with your spouse. When specifying the relationship to the principal applicant, please remember that you are doing it from the perspective of the principal applicant on the one-year window application. Once you have entered the required information, click the Save Details button, and you can see that the dependent has been added. You can go back and edit the information if needed, or delete the dependent by using these two buttons. If you need to add additional dependents, click the Add Dependent button to get additional entry fields. When you have finished entering the information for the principal applicant and any family members you are applying to bring via the one-year window, click the Save and Continue button. The principal applicant's profile has now been created. Now, let's look at how to complete and upload the mandatory application forms and supporting documents for a one-year window application. On the left-hand side of the page, you can see a quick navigation menu that shows the various sections that make up this page. Before starting, please refer to the IMM 5578 guide and the document checklist that are both linked at the top of this page for further information on the eligibility and application requirements for the one-year window, and to see what you will need to complete the application. For a one-year window application, the following mandatory forms must be completed digitally in the portal: the IMM 0008 Generic Application Form for Canada, the IMM 5406 additional family information form, and the IMM 5669 Schedule A form. These 3 forms are embedded in the portal, and they must be completed digitally. As a reminder, these 3 forms must be completed from the perspective of the person that you are applying to bring under the 1-year window. Remember, they are the principal applicant for the purposes of the 1-year window application. To complete the digital versions of the IMM 0008, IMM 5406, and IMM 5669 forms, click the Edit button to the right of each form. For detailed instructions on how to complete the IMM 0008 and IMM 5669 forms, please refer to the IMM 6000 Guide for Convention Refugees and Humanitarian Protected Persons Abroad. Let's start with the IMM 0008 Generic Application Form for Canada. To open the form, click the Edit button. After you click the Edit button, you will see some information to read before you proceed to the form. You will have 1 generic application form for Canada per 1-year window application. When you're ready to start completing the form, click the Continue button. On the left side is a new menu tree, which will show you which section of the form you are on. You will not be able to navigate to the next section until all the required fields have been entered and saved. Start by completing all the required fields in the application detailed section that are marked with a red asterisk. These are mandatory questions. When answering the question on where the principal applicant plans to live in Canada, please ensure that the province or territory and the city or town corresponds with where the permanent resident in Canada is currently living. Even though this question is not marked with a red asterisk and is not mandatory, it must be answered. Once you're done, click on the Save and Continue button. You can always go back to make corrections to any part of the form if needed. In the personal details section of the form, you will see that some information has been auto-populated based on the information we entered earlier when setting up the 1-year window application and the principal applicant's profile. Complete the rest of this section of the form with information for the principal applicant. In the contact information section of the form, when answering the question, "Do you want us to contact you using the email address used for this account?" the answer should be no. A personal email address for the principal applicant should be provided. It is very important to list the principal applicant's personal email address correctly in this section, as it is the only place in the portal where the principal applicant's personal email address is provided to ISCC. ISCC will use this email address to contact the principal applicant during processing to keep them up to date on the status of the 1-year window application, to invite them for their medical, and communicate details of their travel once the 1-year window application has been approved. Work your way through the rest of the sections of the generic application form for Canada and provide the required information for the principal applicant. As you go through the form, you will see a green check mark next to each section on the menu on the left-hand side. This green check mark indicates you have answered the mandatory questions in that section. If you are applying to bring your spouse and children under the 1-year window, when you get to the dependent section of the form, you will need to ensure that they are listed here. If you did not add your children when creating the principal applicant's profile, you will need to click on the link here to open the principal applicant's profile and add your children. Once the children have been added, they will appear under this section. Click on the Edit button to provide the personal details for each child you are applying to bring under the 1 year window with your spouse. Once you have completed all the personal details for each child that you are applying to bring under the 1 year window with your spouse, a completed status will be displayed here. Once you've completed all of the sections of the generic application form for Canada, you'll be able to click the Complete and Return to Application button. This will take you back to the main navigation page for the application. As you complete each digital form, you will see the status of the form change to Ready to Submit. Next, let's look at the IMM 5406 Additional Family Information Form. Click the Edit button to open the form. This form must be completed by the principal applicant that you are applying to bring via the 1 year window, as well as any children that are also coming under the 1 year window that are 18 or older. Please read the Before You Get Started section prior to completing this form. Each family member that is required to complete this form will be listed here in this section. Click the Edit button for each family member to complete the form. Remember to always click the Save and Continue button at the end of each section of the form before moving to the next section. Once you have completed the IMM 5406 form for each required family member, click the Complete and Return to Application button. This will take you back to the main navigation page for the application. Next, open and complete the IMM 5669 Schedule A form by clicking the Edit button. This form must be completed by the principal applicant that you are applying to bring via the 1 year window, as well as any children that are 18 or older that are also arriving under the 1 year window. Please read the Before You Get Started section prior to completing this form. Each family member that is required to complete this form will be listed here. Click the Edit button to complete the form for each family member. Remember to always click the Save and Continue button at the end of each section of the form in order to move to the next section. Once you have completed the IMM 5669 form for each required family member, click the Complete and Return to Application button. This will take you back to the main navigation page for the application. Once you have completed the mandatory digital forms, scroll down to the PDF Forms section. The IMM 5571 Request for Processing Family Members under the 1 year window of opportunity provisions form must be completed by you, the permanent resident in Canada. This form must be completed as a PDF and uploaded into the portal. Please refer to the IMM 5578 guide linked at the top of this page for detailed instructions on how to complete this form. You can download the form by clicking the Download button here. When completing the form, please ensure that you type information into the form and do not handwrite any information in the form. Once you have completed the form and signed it, click the Upload button here to select the form and complete the upload. Please ensure the form is below 4 megabytes in size so there are no issues when uploading the form into the portal. Moving on to the additional application form section, please refer to the IMM 5578 guide linked at the top of this page for further information on which additional PDF application forms you may be required to submit with a 1 year window application. You can search for the form that you need by using this box. Once you have selected the form, there will be an option to download the form by using the Download button here. Once you've completed the form and signed it, upload the form by clicking the Upload button. Select the form to complete the upload. Please note that you may not be required to submit any additional PDF application forms with the one-year window application. Please refer to the IMM 5578 guide linked at the top of this page to see if you are required to submit any additional PDF application forms. If you are not required to submit any additional application forms with your one-year window application, this section can be left blank. In the supporting documents section, you must upload the mandatory supporting documents that are required for a one-year window application. There are two mandatory supporting documents that must be included with the application. The first is one photo for the principal applicant and each child that is on the same one-year window application. The photos must meet the requirements which are linked here. Each photo must have the name and date of birth of the subject written on the back of the photo. The second mandatory supporting document is a copy of your permanent resident card or confirmation of permanent residence document. Before you upload a mandatory supporting document, please ensure you follow the naming conventions detailed in this section. Also ensure that each file is below 4 megabytes and it is one of the accepted file types that are listed here. Click the Upload button to upload the mandatory supporting documents. Once you have uploaded the mandatory supporting documents, you can upload any additional supporting documents that may be required for your one-year window application. Please refer to the IMM 5578 guide that is linked at the top of this page for information on what additional supporting documents you may be required to submit with your one-year window application. The final section of the application is the declaration section. As the permanent resident in Canada, you are responsible for filling out and submitting the one-year window application on behalf of the principal applicant and any of your eligible family members that will be arriving under the one-year window. In order for the principal applicant overseas to provide their declaration and consent to submit the one-year window application, you will need to download the consent and declaration PDF by using this download button. Once you have downloaded it, you can send it to the principal applicant so that they can sign it by hand or digitally and return it to you. You can upload it to the portal by clicking the Upload button. Select the consent and declaration, and the upload is complete. Once you have uploaded the consent and declaration, the application is now ready to submit. You can submit the application by clicking this button here. If the Submit Your Application button is grayed out and you are not able to click it, it means that the application is not complete. Please go back and review the application to ensure that all of the mandatory application forms have either been completed in the portal or uploaded. Please also ensure that all of the mandatory supporting documents have also been uploaded correctly. Please refer to the IMM 5578 guide linked at the top of this page for information on what happens once the one-year window application has been submitted to ISCC. If you have any questions on how to submit a one-year window application via the Permanent Residence Portal, please call the RSTP helpline at 1-877-290-1701, or you can contact your local RSTP trainer. To find the contact details of your local RSTP trainer, please visit our website www.rstp.ca.